Good morning. Yes, that's the spirit. So my name is eugenpopa. I am also from Romania. This is the Romanian morning today. Broadcasting live from the UK convention. Hey. So my topic today is something that I cooked a while ago. Actually, I just became aware of the cooking process, and I called it the Neverending Story, which I like it a lot. It's very simple, and by the end of this presentation today, you'll be able to take it home and use it with your clients. So normally when I go to a class, I get bored if I don't get something like to really do with, to really work with afterwards. And so my belief is that this is not it today for you guys. You're going to have a technique that you can use with your clients. And this method, I played with it. I didn't really sit down and think about it and process it and it's like, oh my God, it's got to be like this. No, actually I was talking to somebody in the kitchen while I was making my sandwich. I had this conversation with this person who said to me that she had a fear of snakes. I didn't know that. I mean, I know the person for like 3 years. I never knew she had a fear of snakes. She was working with me, for the past 3 years. I never knew she had a fear of snakes. So it's like weird. And so while I was making my sandwich, I was talking to her. So why am I saying that kind of, created itself, this method? Because I really kind of jokingly asked her different questions. And then I realized that actually I just kind of stumbled upon a little process just by doing that. So I call it the Neverending Story. And I'm going to give you a little background because now that I saw that it works, I had to make it look very important. So I had to do some background research to make it look much bigger than it is. Okay? Because that's what people are buying. It's like the more complicated you make it, the better it is, right? Yeah. And so if you look online, there are hundreds of studies, thank God, to support what I do. And basically, there are several studies talking about the difference in language. So, for instance, Spanish and English speaking people, they comprehend and they understand a particular event or situation differently because of the words they are using to describe that event. Okay? And so we know that there are words which are exclusive to a language, and if you try to take that word and translate it into a different language, it will take you half a page. Are you aware of these words? Yeah? Like doppelganger. What the heck is that? But it's like somebody who looks like you but is not your brother or your sister, right? But if you say doppelganger to somebody who knows what it is, you got it right there. So because of that, language plays an immense importance in the way we perceive the world, in the way we understand the world, in the way we express our inner world to the outside world. Okay? And so with this process, you'll see that I include this in the protocol I created. It's kind of difficult to say that I created it because I didn't really create it. I just kind of like played with it and it's like, oh, it works. Great. Let me write it down. So I was with this colleague of mine in the kitchen and she said, hey, I have this phobia of snakes. And then first question that you ask is, how do you do it? And most of you already use this question. For some of you, it's the first time. For your client, I can promise you, 99% of the time, it's like, what's wrong with you? What do you mean, how do I do it? It's like, so I say, what do I have to think or imagine to have the reaction you have? And they still look puzzled. It's like, I don't know, it just comes, all right? And so I say to them, it doesn't just come. And here's why I call this the Neverending Story, because something has happened at some point. You had a trigger, you had an event, okay? It doesn't matter if it was yesterday, or 10 years ago, or 10 lifetimes ago, right? For those of you interested in past life therapy. So, it doesn't matter when it happened, but there was a trigger point, there was a trigger moment. So, this happened, you had an emotional reaction to it, and then you kind of forget about it. So if this would be the conscious mind, this would be the subconscious mind, okay? So this happened here, in this point in time, and whatever emotion was brewed here, whatever emotion was generated or reacted here, then it's lasting here in the unconscious mind, all right? And so what actually happens is, for anybody who has any problem, phobia, panic attack, whatever problem, depression, whatever they have, in order for them to experience what they experience, they have to play a movie in their head. They have to have an idea, an image, or somebody saying something to them that then results in their reaction. Okay? So, there is no smoke without fire. There is no reaction without a cause. There's no reaction without a cause. People don't just, I just have it. No, you don't just have it. What you do have, it's something that you are unaware of. And you're unaware of because it's happening here, not here. This is awareness, this is unawareness. Is that a word? You know what I mean, right? So this is awareness. So basically, when you tell me I just have it, it's because you are here, but you don't have this whole movie. So let me just make it like a movie strip, all right? So you have, this is the movie strip. And this movie plays in your head all the time, but you're not aware of it. You don't know what it is. You just see the final result. And most of the time you don't see that. You react to that consciously, to the final situation that frightens you. Okay? So, I'll give you an example. And I love giving this example because I love the reactions. So imagine that you are 5 years old. And you're walking down with your grandparent. She's holding you by the hand. It's like, look at the flowers, so beautiful. And as you're walking by, this dog comes, whoa, you go like that, right? And everybody's like, oh shit, what happened, right? And that's the moment, right there. I got you. I got you, right? So that's the moment right there. This happens, and when this happened, you got spooked, you got frightened. And automatically, in your head, you start doing what? A movie. You start constructing a movie. You start constructing the movie with a really shitty outcome. A really bad outcome for you. Something that really affects you or hurts you in some way. However, you're not conscious of that outcome. You just see dog, reaction. Dog, reaction. You got a phobia of dogs, right? But you don't know why. And the reason why is that once you have the stimulus here, the movie has been created into your unconscious mind and is playing so that it keeps you away from that stimulus that causes your problem. Okay? So when people come to you with a problem, they come to you with a movie that is never finished. They come to you with a movie that they are not aware of. So what is your job? Your job is to go and extract this movie. That's what we do with this method. Is extract, and it's that simple. It's stupid easy. All right? It's impossible for you not to be able to do this method. And so, basically what you do is you go and extract this movie, and here's another very important thing. Whatever you think in your head, whatever your clients think in their heads, it is totally blown out of proportions compared to what it is like if you ask them to speak it out loud or to write it down. So client says, oh, but I'm so afraid. And then you go like, okay, give me details. What exactly are like details? I'm afraid of the dark. No bullshit, you're not afraid of the dark. You're afraid of what you think might happen in the dark. You're not afraid of heights. You're afraid of what might happen if you fall off something high. You're not afraid of small places. Right? You're afraid of what might happen if I get stuck in a small place. That's what you're afraid of. And that is the movie. But most people don't access that because they're too afraid or they didn't even know that such thing exists. And now it's your job to elicit that movie from them. So one thing to do is to basically explain to them first that the big dragon in your head is just a little tiny mouse if you say it out loud. And sometimes when I work with clients, they come to me and they start telling me their story. I said, I don't need your story. Just tell me what you want. Tell me the final result in maximum 8 words. Right? Maximum, and I show them 5 fingers because I don't have 8 fingers here. Right? So maximum 8 words. Tell me what you want in positive terms. Don't tell me, I don't want to be afraid anymore. That's bullshit. Tell me what you want, not what you don't want. All right? So I force them to do this. Why? Because the movie is so big in their head. Now I force them basically to put it in positive terms and actually take it out of their heads and into the physical world. It's kind of like a process of creation. And why do I do that? Well, it's two-pronged solution here. One is because once it's out of their head, now they can look at it. It's like, if this was in my head, it's like, it's a ginormous, big something that is really aggressive and attacking me. And I say, what is that? Describe it to me. Oh, look, it's just a little pen. Oh, bollocks. You know, because you're in Britain, that's bollocks for you. So if they start describing it, suddenly it's not a big thing anymore. It's just a little tiny thing. So that's one reason I ask them to do this. A second reason is this. If you declare something about yourself, it is very, 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 very difficult to take it back. It's called what? Cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance means that once I declare something that I'm going to do or say something, I will have a mental stress if I don't follow up on that. Okay? So if I say I'm going to eat the whole plate, I mean the food on the plate, basically, right? So if I say that, it's going to make me look bad if I don't do it. And I cannot have that inner stress. I cannot have that inner fight. So if I say I do it, then I have to do it, right? If I say that this is just a little freaking pen, not a big, ginormous monster, then I have to live by the results and by the outcomes of a little pen, not a big monster. Make sense? Yeah. So once they speak it out loud, it's like they signed off on it. Once it's out, you cannot take it back. Once it's out, it's like, really? It's like, is that why I was like, that's stupid. And that's most of the time the reaction you get when you do this. I'm telling you this stuff so you know why you do it. You don't have to explain this to your clients, but you know why you do it. Okay, make sense? So, let's recap just real quick. One, the words that you are using, or the clients are using when they're talking about their problem are very, very important. We're going to come back to this towards the end of the process. And two, you want them to explain to you, to tell you in 8 words what they want. 3, you ask them to articulate exactly what their issue is. Because somebody can come to you and says, oh, I have a terrible problem. And what is that? It's like every time somebody shuts the door, I get really spooked, and that really, causes a big distress with me. But they never said it like that, right? So now it's like, so you go, and you repeat. It's like, okay, so when somebody shuts the door, is that it? And they're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. But in my head, it sounded really big, very important, very major issue in my head, right? So now they gave you the information. So coming back to this is not a nested loop, by the way. It's just natural, of course, right? So coming back to the snake story. So this girl, she was, I was in the kitchen, I was making myself a sandwich, and she said, oh, because I have this fear of snakes. Like, really? Like, we've been knowing each other for 3 years, and now you tell me. But hey, okay, I'll pass you on that. So I asked her, how do you do it? And of course, the first look is like, what do you mean, how do I? It's just there, okay? So when they say that, you always have to come back and say, nothing is just there. There is always a cause, and you have a reaction. There is always a cause, and when I say a cause, I don't mean something when you're 5 years old. I don't mean that. I mean, what is the movie in your head that is causing you this reaction? That's what I mean. Okay? So when I say, what is, how do you do it? How do you do it? Tell me so I can have it myself now. Describe to me the movie in your head, or the voice that you hear, or the image that comes up in your head. And sometimes they will tell you, and they're like, holy shit, yeah, I get the feeling. Right? Sometimes it goes like that. So, describe to me, one of the ways I say is like this. What do I have to imagine to get your reaction? That's another way of asking, the how. How do you do it? What do I have to imagine to get your response? Or another way of doing it is, if I were to watch a movie with you where you have this experience, what would I see? It's like, I have a big screen, somebody recorded you going through the motions, going through this event. What would I have to see in that movie so I get to the same result and to the same reaction that you have? And when you ask these questions, what do? You elicit the monster out of their head into a pen in front of their eyes. That's what you do. You basically go in there and grab that story and start to pull it out. That's what you do when you ask these questions. So with this girl, she said, I said, how do you do it? How do you have this phobic reaction to snakes? It just happens. No. And I sometimes draw this to them. I said, so here's the stimulus. Here's your reaction. You see there is a space between? There is a space between the two? Yes, so they're not close to each other. It's one there, one here. And so between this and this, there can be several steps. There can be several sequences. Several moments. Please tell me, what are those? Because most of the times, especially, I'm giving you this example with phobia because it's very easy to relate to it, but this works with anything, okay? So, especially when people have phobia, it's like, this is the stimulus, this is the reaction. They're like this. No, they're not like this. They look like they're like this, but really, there are a lot of steps in between that happen very, very fast. Okay? So I say, it happens very fast, tell me what's in between. Okay? So I say, what do I have to see? What do I have to imagine to see, to have your reaction? What plays in your mind that gets you to this point? And he says, well, I feel it crawling up my leg. So I go, that's a good start. All right. So now comes the essence of this technique. You write it down. 3 words that makes this technique. And you use them a lot. So these words are this. So she says, it's crawling up my leg. And then I go, and what happens next? And she goes, well, it goes up on my thigh. It's like, okay, cool. What happens next? Oh, it's so disgusting. So what is disgusting? Tell me more, right? Give me more sequences in the movie. What's disgusting? Is the sounds like he's doing that thing? It's the touch on the skin. It's the way that it's moving. What exactly is? I mean, give me details. You're laughing. It's like some of you. It's like, holy shit! I don't want to go in that story now. So give me details. Because you know what they say? The devil is in the details. Well, that's exactly it. So she goes, it's the skin. And so I'll come back to this little thing with the skin because I played a little trick on her. But it works without this little trick. It just made it faster with this trick. So I'll come back to it in the end. If I don't, you remind me, okay? Deal? Yeah. Good, all right. So then it's the skin. It's like the touch on my skin. It's like, ugh, it's like cold. Okay, there's also temperature. Yes, it's cold and it's the touch of the skin. Okay, good. So, guess what my next question is? what happens next? And well, it crawls up. And I say, so where is it now? Well, it's around here somewhere. I don't want to look at it. Okay, what happens next? It bites me. All right, cool, awesome. Not really, but you know, you're doing fantastic. So what happens next? And then she says, and we're in the kitchen. I'm fixing my sandwich. Well, I was like, so what happens next? Okay. And what happens next? And she's over there. It's like, It's like, okay, butter on the bread. What happens next? Right? And so she goes, and I fall down on the floor. It's like she's on top. What happens next? And she goes, I get foam around my mouth and I have convulsions. It's like, okay, what happens next? Well, the next thing I know is I'm in a hospital intubated with wires and apparatus devices around me, and I feel really, really sick. So, okay, cool. What happens next? It's like, I'm one-track mind here, right? And then she goes, well, I come out, I don't know, whatever. I come out of a coma, whatever is in her head. It's like, good, what happens next? And she goes, well, I mean, I'm starting to feel okay. You know, I'm stabilized, no more problem. So what happens next? It's like, dude, come on. So what happens next? Tell me more. And she goes, yeah, and then it's a few days later. I'm de-intubated. I get out of hospitals, and I said, what happens next? Well, I go home. And then I said, so what happens next? Nothing, I'm okay. I said, okay, cool. So, tell me about that snake now. And she's like, Her reaction now is, I said, okay, that's good. So, I played with this a few times with other clients. They don't know I played. I look very professional when I did it. But it worked every time. Why? Because basically what I did, she had this in her head, a movie played, but she never finished it. In her subconscious mind, the movie is with her intubated and foamy around the mouth. And what I did is basically take that movie and then bring it to a neutral or a positive. Hold your questions and we'll take them in the end. So I take this process and I bring it to a neutral or a positive emotion in the end of it. Now, some clients, they end up dead. There you go. I got you, girls. Don't worry, it's all taken care of.
All right, what happens next?
Exactly. That is exactly my question. That is exactly my. You got it. You see, I told you it's a very easy technique. Duh, stupid easy. So I'm dead. And what happens next? Well, nothing. Life moves on. Great. And that's all I need. It's like my kids will cry and I'll be, they'll bury me. And what happens next? It's like, you son of a bitch. And it keeps on going like that until what? I get to a positive or neutral emotion. That's when you finish. That's when you stop the movie. You get to a positive or a neutral situation. That's the end of it. Because now you finish the movie, it doesn't have to be a happy end. But if it's good, if it's a happy end, all the better. Okay? At least a neutral emotion. Like, that's it. It's done, it's gone, it's finished, it's over. But there's no more reaction to it. Was that good? Good. Yeah? So, there's no more emotional charge there. And that's what you need. Once I got here, now I can start playing with it. How do I play with it? I ask them, because every time they say something, I have what happens next, and then I go 1, 2, 3, and just all of their answers, I write it down, right? So now what do? I say, when I got to this end, the positive or neutral end, I say, now please repeat the whole process again for me. And if they skip a step, it's like, hold on a second, you skipped a step. It's like, this was here, all right? So I asked them to repeat that whole sequence again, out loud. Speak it out loud. Why? If I say it, I have to live by it, right? Remember what I said in the beginning? Cognitive dissonance, there's a no-no. If you say it out loud, it's done. Okay? So, I say, repeats to me the whole sentence, and they do repeat it. And now, I come with a next level to this, and the next level is this. Because they will say, I don't know, the snake hurts me. Let's say that. Let's take this example with the snake. So the snake bites and it hurts me. Okay? So, hurt is what? Is a very targeted word. Like sharp, spear, pointing, piercing. These are very targeted words. They have a very particular reaction in ourselves, right? So, now I say, after they repeat the whole process once or twice, with their own words, as they played in their minds, now what do? I say, repeat the whole process now, and replace the targeted words with descriptive words. So instead of using emotional words, give me factual words. All right? What is this? Desensitizing. Right? Take out the emotional words, give me factual words. And I'll give you an example. There's a very cool study done at some point. There's this photo with two cars, and they looked like they've been in an accident, right? They're both dented and whatever. And so there are two groups of people. Group number one, they were asked, what was the speed of the cars at the time of impact? Group number two, what was the speed of the cars at the moment of the crash? There's a difference about 20 miles between the two because of the words used, right? And that's exactly what you apply here. If initially they say the snake hurts me, you can say the snake bites me, and that's still a very sharp way of saying it. Or you can find other ways to express it, like the snake opens the mouth, and then it does this, and then this happens, and then there's this. Instead of saying, I'm poisoned, you can say, there is a foreign liquid in my body. I give them ideas. No joke. Just a small parenthesis. I had a client came to me once for alcohol. He was an alcoholic. And I asked him, how do you do it? Like, how do you drink? And of course, he's like, I listen to some very melancholic music. I put some very precious scotch in my glass. I look at it. I light a cigarette. I lay in my couch, and I pity myself. So that's perfect. That's like, I can really see that. Awesome. So I said, here's what you do next time you want to drink. When you want to drink next time, because I don't want you to stop drinking, I just want you to do it a bit differently. So here's what you do. Next time when you drink, no music, no cigarette, no sofa, but what you actually do, you grab a chair, all right? You get up on a chair with a glass in your hand and you say, there is a liquid in this container, and I'm going to take this liquid from this container and I'll put it in this container. And here's me doing this now. And just say that to yourself. I'm moving a liquid from this container into this container, and I'm just looking at this happening. That's all you do. And I got a lot of referrals from that guy. Because sometimes it's very easy. I'm not saying that it works every time, and I've done a lot of other things with him, but just changing the words and the context, it's enough to get a different result. That's my point with this. Okay? Now sometimes, and this is troubleshooting now, so this is the whole technique right here. What I just said to you, this is a technique. Now I'll give you troubleshooting to this method. So, sometimes when you ask them for the process, it becomes too painful. It's too painful in their heads. And they cannot say it. They cannot go through that step. So what do? You go a step back. Right? You go a step back. You use this desensitizing verbiage. Yeah? To give you the steps between here and here. Repeat these steps a few times. Every time you repeat it, every time they say it out loud, they actually desensitize it. Every time they speak it out loud, they desensitize it. So if I get to us, let's say, I'll give you a situation. This person walks down the street and then somebody attacks them. All right? And they are knocked out unconscious. But they have a tremendous emotion attached to this event. So then what do? As they're coming with a story close to the moment of the attack, they get more and more and more emotion, right? But you can say it like this. Well, I was walking down the street and somebody attacked me, and then I was lying down on the street. And that's like the whole story, right? But you can take the same story. How long were you walking down the street? 20 minutes. Describe me every step. And so suddenly it's not one instance, one sentence. It can be a 20-minute description. So what do? I say, describe the process up to the point when it became too much for them to tell. You stop right before that, and you go back. Repeat the sentence. Repeat the steps, right? So if step number 5 would be very emotional, then I say, go 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Describe that to me. Go back. Repeat. Go back. Repeat. And the more you do that, it doesn't have to be like a 10 times. Just do like 1 or twice, and it's enough. So you go like 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, it's too much. Okay, go back to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's okay. Go back to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No problem. All right, move on. What happens next? Yeah, make sense? So in this way, you get to help them finish the story. So it's not a never-ending story anymore, right? It is a story that now has an end, and it is a positive or a neutral end. And most of the times, you'll get clients be very bewildered of what their mind can cook. That's why we call them cuckoo, right? Because there's so much stuff that comes out of your head, you never knew it's there. And somebody once, I heard this metaphor once, and I like it a lot because it pertains so much. It's resembling this process so much. So there's this person who is a poet, and they had this audio interview online, and somebody was saying, so how do you write your poems? And this person said, well, sometimes I have the whole poem in my head, and it's like I'm up in my bedroom. I have to run really quick downstairs, get a piece of pen and paper, and start putting it to paper, because otherwise it goes away and I never get it back. And so, if I catch it in time, I start writing it down backwards. Because it's like the poem passes by, I see it, I run quick, and then I grab it, and then slowly bring it back and put it on paper. And I write it, like every word I put on paper, I bring it back. I bring it back into the paper. And that's exactly what we do here. You get the movie, and now I said, oh, give me another. It's like, give me sequence 1, sequence 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, finish the movie. Right? That's what we do with this method. You basically go in there, it's like, what's the next step? What happens next? What happens next? And you just go and pick it up, piece by piece. You put it together, and when they have it together, and like, because I have a big wall behind me in my office, I said, there is the movie, look at it. Describe to me what's the movie about. And now, they look at the wall, talking about hypnosis, right? They look at the wall, it's like, yes, so I'm doing this. It's like scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. It's like, oh, that's the end. And I'm okay now. It's like no more phobia. With this girl, I was doing this work in the office. It was like a 15 minutes process that we had. Just asking her, what happens next. Okay? So now I told you I'm going to give you a little kicker with this one. She was telling me that, oh, it's the skin that really disgusts me. Ugh. And I said, oh, okay. Do you like snake leather purses? Oh, of course. Very nice, very special. And that was it right there. I just killed her phobia with that one question. Because, well, it's the same skin. Yeah, I never thought about it. Right? But you can play that. So you can take whatever they have and put it in a little different context, and that will be enough to undermine the entire movie. Just by placing it on a different context. Another way you can help yourself is to dissociate this even more. How? Well, when I elicit the detail from that person by asking, tell me what happens next, they're in the movie, right? But I can say this, come over here next to me, we're looking at that movie, tell me what happens next. And now I dissociate. And by doing that, it's much easier for them to bring the story out because they are not in it anymore. But if I do this, in the end of the process, I bring them back into the movie and I ask them to tell me the movie again while they're in it. Right? Because I want them to be in that situation without the reaction. It's very easy to observe something over there and be completely apart from it, being completely dissociated from it because it's over there. It doesn't affect me. I'm here, it's over there. Right? So now, after I played the whole movie, dissociated, and done that a couple of times, and then done that a couple more times, changing the words to it, from emotional words to factual words. After I've done that, then I say to them, now go into the movie and describe to me the whole process again, from the beginning till the end. And end doesn't mean death, by the way, yeah? Because we talked about that earlier. So if you're dead, it doesn't mean that it's the end. And it doesn't matter if it's true or false, if it's real or imagined, because we all know it doesn't really matter. But the client doesn't know that, and most of the times it helps them if you tell them that. It helps them. It's like, and sometimes they say, is that real? And I will ask them, do you have the problem anymore? No, I don't. Well, that's all you need to know. So I don't know if it's real or not. I don't know if it's imagined or for reals, like the Americans say. Damn Americans, right? It doesn't matter. What it matters is, do you still have the problem? No, I'm good. I like snakes. Like, okay, thank you for that. It was like right on time. So that's the method. Well, I'm not done, but thank you. Great. What time is it? Ah, cool. That was good. I was in a trance the whole time. All right, questions. Let's see. Yes?
Do you use any hypnosis then?
No. No. In the moment when they start telling you the movie, they're in trance. It's like, hi, hold on right now. Compose yourself, woman. Don't trance now. I have to do the induction first. All right? Let me do the induction, then you can trance all you want. No. You don't need that. It's like, once they're in the movie, they're in the trance. The movie is the trance. The emotion is the trance. They got the emotion, you got them by whatever you want.
But have you ever tried it with hypnosis?
No, because I'm lazy. It's true. I'm lazy like that. If it works, if it ain't broken, why fix it? If it works, it works. And for you guys, go ahead and play with it. Go ahead and test it without the induction and see how that works. Yes?
Is there anything you would not treat with this? Have you ever...
I never had... No, I don't know. I don't have any ideas in my mind that I could not use this with. Because in my head, 99% of the problems are based on a movie that we tell ourselves, that we play ourselves in our heads. And 99% of the times, we are not aware of that movie. And this is just bringing that movie out. Yes?
Have you ever used that method?
You don't look very convinced, I'm sorry. You don't look very, it's like you look like
No, I have a client. It's a pretty tragic thing. She's been raped into her mouth for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
By her ex-boyfriend on several times a week, and she thought she's gonna suffocate.
Mm-hmm.
I've done absolutely everything with her, and she's feeling better, and she's able to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I am starting to run out of tools, what to do with her anymore.
Well,
But it's a bit gross to ask her to, I don't know, this is why I'm kind of like...
go step by step. When you hit a wall, go back.
Yeah.
Yeah? Repeat the steps until it's okay. Then you move one step further. Still a roadblock, go back, repeat.
Yeah.
There's one of the therapeutic methods is to actually get the client, like they do in police work, you get the client to repeat the story ad nauseum, like until they get, blind in their eyes. Just repeat the story. And the more you do it, it's like, let's do this little exercise now. Give me a word, whatever word. Give me a word.
Car.
Car. Okay, good. Thank you. So here's what I want you to do now. Repeat the word car in your head. Car, 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 car. At what point do you lose the meaning? You see what I mean? By repeating it, you start to lose the meaning.
But what if that becomes something that, she repeats it, it just enforces the actual trauma?
If you go with this, you don't go to the... It's not the whole story that is causing trauma.
Yeah.
It's a particular moment in that movie. It's a particular moment in the whole situation. Because if you ask her, so tell me about your problem with this person, it'll be one image that comes into her head, not 1,000. It'll be one. Or one movie. That's what I want you to tell me. And tell me how that movie finishes. And if I hit a roadblock, I know. I go back, repeat, change the words from emotional to factual. His organ is in my organ. You know what I mean? Even though it sounds superficial and forced, it works. Yes?
Have you ever used this method with a depressed client who never seems to find a neutral or positive ending?
Yes. There is always a neutral or positive ending. It's like this. And it's good for you guys. It's good. A great question. Because it brings me to the essence of this. If I were to describe this method in one sentence, it's like this. In the end, everything is okay. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Okay? So keep that in mind when you work, especially when you work with this method. If it's not okay, it's not the end. You have to go, what happens next? Perfect, thank you. Yes?
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I'm NLP trained, and it reminds me of the rewind technique.
Yeah, it's very similar, but not.
And I was going to say, do you think it's more powerful, like the cognitive dissonance part, because people are actually, the clients are actually saying it out loud, rather than with the rewind technique? I don't know if everybody knows.
Yeah, I know. I know it. Yeah.
You imagine the movie, and you play the movie out, and you allow the client to do that without actually verbalizing every step. So do you think that makes it more powerful?
Which one?
verbalizing?
The rewind with this?
No, Neverending.
This one? I think it's more powerful for the reason I explained to you in the beginning. If I speak it out loud, and I tell you why. Here's something. Whenever clients come to you with a problem, think in your head, think about it this way. Imagine, and I tell them that. I tell the clients, I tell them this. I say, you come to me with a problem. What is your problem? My wife cheats on me. All right? Or I'm always depressed. Or I have a phobia. That's my problem. Right? So what do I tell them? Well, what you just said, it's like is if I was reading a newspaper, one of them scandal newspapers, with a very flashy title, but you didn't give me any content. Right? You just gave me the title. That's the problem. You gave me the title, now give me the details. Give me the details. The devil is in the details. The solution is in the details. And the details is the movie. Give me the movie. The more you speak the movie, the more free you are from it. Because the more aware and conscious you become of that. And you'll have clients, when they will speak out those, like the phrases of the article, they'll tell you the scenes of their movie. When they'll say that, they'll be like, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, and it's like, wow, that would be the next step. They have that realization as they tell it out to you. It's like you and them become conscious of their movie at the same time. And most of the times, the mere realization of the movie is enough for them to be free of that issue. Yes?
In this point, after the title, the people have a tendency to describe their own lives.
Yeah.
All lives.
Yeah. So she says people go into their life story, and then I tell them, tell me what you want in 8 words max.
Okay.
Right? I tell them, and this is not to play bad against psychotherapists, but I tell them, I'm not a psychotherapist. I just want you to tell me what you want so we can get on and do that. So just tell me the result so I can help you get there. If you start telling me the history, I'm not interested in that. You know, I don't care, really. Yes?
Do you ever get a client just that it just happened, and then you keep asking them, and they just say, no, it just happened, and you can't extract that movie from them? Do you ever get a client like that?
Yes. And then I just tell them, imagine that what just happened, it's like, here's the event, here's the reaction, right? Now imagine that you zoom in on it, and then as you zoom in on it, you actually start to see they're not one thing. Because what I tell them is this, there's one thing to have a reaction or an emotion, and it's a completely different thing to manifest it or express it. They do not take place at the same time. It's impossible. Physically speaking, this is the reaction, this is the emotion, and this is my behavior related to that. So what I'm asking them to do is to look in the space between. Like zoom in on that. And if they say it's the same time, no, here's the perfect question. It works every time, trust me. And if it were not to be at the same time, what would it be? That's it. And suddenly it's like, oh yeah, it could be like this, like this. They give you the whole movie. Yeah. And if you were to know, what would you know? Yes, there's somebody, yes.
In cognitive behavioral therapy, that's the same concept, I think. It's about, I don't know the expression, a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
It's similar to that.
It's very similar, exactly. However, when we talk about worst case scenario, this is the worst case scenario where I end up dead. And I tell them what happens next. Right? My wife and kids are crying. What happens next? Life moves on. All right, good. So this is where the movie ends. Worst case scenario, the movie ends here. I do not finish it here. I finish it here. You go beyond that to a positive or neutral moment. And that's why you make connection to rewind technique, because that's where you go back to. I like that technique very much, actually. Yes, let's see, other questions. Yes, sir.
Can you use it, as like positive mental rehearsal, or is it just for getting rid of stuff?
You can use it for well, thank you so much. You just raised that so beautifully. Because, you can use it for anything, really. I mean, as long as, you can either become aware of a movie or just create your own movie.
Okay.
Yeah? Because it's like, until now, so somebody comes to you with a problem, right? And you fix it using this method, or sometimes you can have clients coming, it's like, I want to be better at snooker. It's like, okay, let's make that movie for you. Most of the time, when we're talking about the creative visualization, it's like, I see myself winning, and that's a great thing, right? That's like the end of it. Great. Now tell me the steps you have to take to get there. And in NLP, for instance, you have like, okay, so here's the final outcome. Now turn back to the time where you are and describe the steps that took you there. It's kind of rewinding the movie backwards to the present day. Yeah? All right, so thank you so much. If you want, I will put my email address on the board so you can email me to say hi, or I don't know, ask for my phone number. And yeah, email me, and if you want more, just leave your name and email address on a piece of paper so I can send you the steps, like really nicely done with some research behind so it looks more professional. And thank you so much for taking the time. If you are so wonderful to do that, go ahead, in the back you have feedback forms. I appreciate all your 5 stars everywhere. And that's it, I'm done. Thank you so much. Keep going. I really appreciate, if you are going to use this method, I would really appreciate giving me a feedback how it worked out for you guys. It's really, really good to get a feedback from you.
Thank you, that's really good.
Thank you.
I have a good question.
Yes, one second. Let me, so that I don't